Good evening. I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Conversations with Selwyn. Those of you who are joining us for the first time, a very good evening to you. Welcome to CWS. CWS is about having conversations with people about their journey and how they are using their gifts and talents to help others. As such, I'm always looking for people who are doing extraordinary things or doing things extraordinarily well. This evening is a little different. There are two young men as my guests tonight who are from the UK. And I'm hoping that by the end of this conversation, what we will learn from them is the principle of perseverance and determination. These young men are beneficiaries of the Amos Bursary. During the show, we'll talk a little bit about that, what it means, and its genesis. But what is important to understand is that one of the reasons I come here every week to have a conversation is that because I believe that we are never more connected than when we share our stories. I believe that not only when we talk about our successes, but when we speak about our challenges, how often we get up when we fall. And imagine a young person somewhere in the world listening to you and being inspired to step beyond their limitation, step beyond their challenges, and one day becoming a head of state or someone who stops a genocide or someone who invents a vaccine that saves millions of lives. We cannot know. And this is why it is so important for us to give beyond ourselves and to give without expectations. Many people fail at times. They don't fail because they don't have the courage to try. They don't have the strength to persevere, and they're not determined. Sometimes they fail simply because there isn't the means. I believe in bridges. There are paths all around us, but then there are also chasms. And sometimes it takes one person, one organization to build a bridge and help us to move from one path to the next so that we can continue our journey. And so I encourage you that if you have that means to help someone, maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's a congratulation, maybe it's a token of your appreciation. Give it and don't look back. Don't have an expectation. So we'll take a short break, and when I return, I'll introduce you to our guests this evening. We are back. Good evening. Those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Conversations with Selwyn. The gentleman next to me, the young gentleman, I must say, the one on your left, I believe, holding the mic, that would be Segun Balogun. And then the other one on the right, that will be Dumebi Dumaka. Guys, did I get your names pronounced correctly? Yes, I told you I was going to do this. All right. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
And I can't hear you, Dumebi. Okay. And welcome to CWS.
Thank you.
Can you tell us where you were born and what was it like for you at the age of 9, the age of 15, and who you are today? Start with you, Segun.
Okay. Well, I was born in Nigeria, in Lagos, a place called Ogun State, very small town in Ogun State called Sangota. And so it was, growing up was really exciting for me. It was very fun. I've only got fun memories of, things that used to happen. Had a really, close family around me, mum and dad with me, my grandparents with me as well. So it was very, very interesting growing up. I had a lot of freedom to, play it out with people, with other children, and I really enjoyed it. And actually, when I was 9 years old, that's when I moved to England. Mm-hmm. And moving to England was very different for me. My mom was actually born in England, so that's why we decided to come, just to, tried to experience a different life and to see there's better opportunities in England. So being 9 was it was hard at first because, you know, settling into the British culture, and at school I had a strong accent, so it was very hard fitting in, and I didn't really feel that I could connect with the other children, other kids. But I think with time I just decided to start to adjust and get used to being with, you know, people from around here. And I remember like seeing snow for the first time. Like, it was just it was crazy to me. It was quite a big thing, and other kids just saw me and just saw how I reacted to it. It was a bit different. So I think when I was 9, that's when I decided to sort of notice that I'm a bit different, in the sense that I wasn't born in England, and the way that I've been raised is a bit different from the way other kids are raised here. And now, being 15, that period was very critical in my life, because that's when my parents decided to move me from a school that I wasn't really performing well at, and actually moved to a boarding school, which is in North of England, and there's only 2 black people in the entire school, and I was one of them. And the reason why I moved is because I got a bit troublesome during my teenage years, wasn't really focusing in class, and even outside class as well, just, you know, not really do what I meant to do. So it was either that, to go to school in England, or to go to Nigeria. So I convinced my parents that please let me stay here. I'll fix up, I'll behave myself. And so being 15 is when I really realized that, you know, I need to start to take education more seriously, take myself more seriously. Also because in the school that I went to, they didn't really see any black people. So I felt that I was like the representation of black people. So I had to conduct myself in a manner which was right. And, you know, that kind of influenced my thinking a lot, started to get more serious. And also in terms of like my friends as well, started from back home in London to encourage them, and even maybe, it sounds a bit different, but to even leave some people behind, because my thing is started to change quite a lot. And the person that I am now, I'd say, has been shaped by me moving to different places and having to adapt to different situations. So like moving when I was 9, that really, you know, changed my thinking a bit. And especially when I was 15, I started to realize that, you know, I need to have some sort of discipline in my life. So I think those experiences from when I was 9 to 15 and 15 to now have kind of shaped me to see life differently and realize the importance of hard work. And yeah, that's what I'd say.
And you, Dumebi?
Yeah. So there are actually quite a few similarities between mine and Segun's story from what he was saying. I didn't grow up in Nigeria, but I grew up in Hackney, East London. I was born there and grew up there to the age of 9 or 10. Growing up in Hackney was also very fun. I've only got fun memories of being there. I enjoyed it a lot. It was a real community kind of aspect and feeling while living there. Even though I was probably 5, 6, 7 years old, we were allowed to go out and play downstairs for a few hours, knowing that we will be safe and we'll be able to come back home without any issues. I remember learning to ride my bike just outside our block, and I remember shouting up to my mum when she was inside, shouting that I'd learnt to ride my bike, and she ran out and just saw me riding through the block. So a few memories like that were really fond for me. One of my closest friends today grew up in the block, not too far from me. I also had family close by. So growing up in Hackney was, I would say, a very good part of my life, and a part of my life I look back fondly on. I also moved around the age of 9 to 10, but we moved to Dagenham in Essex. And that period for me was also quite difficult. Just moving home, I didn't want to leave Hackney. I liked it there. I had friends there. I had family there. So moving to Dagenham was a bit of a change for me. But I kind of embraced it and just ran with it. I guess when you're young, you kind of adapt to situations a bit more than when you're older. So that experience was also quite good, but I would say that I took a while to get over the moving element, just in terms of having family and friends back in Hackney. Moving on to being 15 years old. Again, that was probably mid-secondary school time, and whereas Segun went to school in the north of the country, I lived in Dagenham but went to secondary school in Dartford, so it was quite a distance. I guess you could compare it from living on the other side of New York or living in Brooklyn and going to school in New Jersey. It was quite a distance to travel to go to secondary school. So whenever I told people that I went to school in Dartford, they'll be like, "Whoa, what are you doing there? It's quite a way for you to be going just to go to school." But it was a good school and I enjoyed it there. Had a lot of fun there. But then the school being at such a distance meant that I didn't quite grow up in the area that I lived in as much, because a lot of time was just taken up going to and from secondary school. So didn't really make too many friends in and around my area. It was more so in school, and so that's something I really remember from secondary school. But it was a time, especially 15 years old, that helped me grow and shape my life, because I had quite a serious foot injury while I was 15 years old. From 15 to 16, I was out of school for a few months, and I guess the experience just helped me value what I had. I enjoy playing football. It was a foot injury, so it meant that I couldn't do that for more than a year, nearly 2 years. So being around 15 years old to 16, that was really a time where I learned to just value the little things in life. Being able to walk. I used to sit in bed and watch people walk and think, wow, I can't do that. And it helped me grow in that period. In terms of what I am today, again, I would say my life was shaped by having to adapt to different situations, having to move, going to a school far away, where, again, actually, it was a majority white area. At the time I went there were a few black people, probably, I think, 4 or 5 of us in my year. But each year on year, the numbers did grow, so that became easier. But just being able to adapt is something I feel like I've had to do throughout, and has helped me mold me into what I am today. And I am very much glad that my parents did move from Hackney to Dagenham, looking back on it now. And I'm very glad that they did send me to school in Dartford, because at the time, they may not have seemed like the best idea for me at the time, but looking back on it, they really did shape me into who I am now.
You guys are pretty young men. Do you do a lot of reflections on your childhood upbringing and where you are today, and see how some of the choices you make, or choices that were made for you by your parents, were actually good choices? Do you do that?
Yeah,
I see.
I would definitely say so.
What I find interesting is this parallel, the similarity between the two of you, in that you were transferred to schools where you were in a minority in terms of being black. But Dumebi, you mentor young people, or do some mentoring. I
did previously.
Do you draw upon this experience you had as a child, when, especially around your 15, 16-year-old period, when you were a little bit upset or sort of angry, but you adapted Do you draw on that experience to mentor some of these young men?
Yeah, so when I was doing mentoring, that was actually back in Hackney, so around the area that I grew up. And I guess you can see the influences now. You can see the main factors that influence the kids there, whether negatively or positively. So, yeah, for me it was easier to kind of connect and make that connection because I kind of knew what they were going through, knew the things they were thinking about, knew what they thought might have been cool at the time, but when you get to my age you realize no, those things aren't quite as cool and they're not the things that you might or you should be focusing on, things like that.
When did you guys meet?
We met through the bursary.
To the bursary. All right, we'll get to that. So what kind of student, as quickly as possible, what kind of student were you at the age of, let's say, 13, both of you?
Do you want to go first?
I think I was an angry student.
Angry?
Yeah.
And you?
I was cheeky, but I knew I still did what I had to do.
I noticed both of you guys do well in math.
Pretty well.
Pretty well. Well, was math always easy for you?
For me personally, because of I had a bit of education in Nigeria, so I personally think that the level of education in Nigeria during primary school level is a bit ahead of what it is in England.
In England.
So when I came over, I was a bit lazy with maths and other subjects. So I don't know. I think I was all right, but I didn't really, try to, get better at it. I just did it.
Let me shift up your timeline a little bit from 13 to like 15, 16, high school, right? You're still a little bit upset, but you're adjusting.
Yeah.
Most of your friends are in your high school area, not where you grew up. But you did well at your exams, both of you. What changed? When did this change occur? Or let me shape the question a different way. Did your anger at any time affect your studies?
For me, early on, I would say maybe it did because there was a point in secondary school where I actually tried to change secondary schools because I just felt out of place. But whether it affected my education, probably not so.
Not so.
Yeah.
And what about you?
Did my anger affect my education?
Yeah, your performance.
Yeah, I think it definitely did because I would be sent out of classes or, even maybe getting angry at something or even being cheeky, trying to be a comedian in the classroom. So I think it definitely affected.
Do you blame some of that on adolescence, or you were just upset about something?
I personally think it was just me just growing up, just being at that stage, just getting used to how things are being a teenager. I don't think it was anything too serious because I grew out of it and I've seen some of my friends grow out of it as well. And my dad grew out of that stage as well. So I think it's just a stage that a lot of young men go through.
On this one, I just want to bring your parents into this. How have your parents shaped who you are today?
Very much so for me.
Who was this very strict one?
To be fair, my parents aren't generally that strict, but probably my mom.
Your mom?
She's more direct. My dad's more laid back.
And you?
For me, growing up, my dad was very strict. He likes to think he wasn't because he compares himself to his parents, but I think he was very strict. He's very laid back now. My mom was quite strict as well, but they're very laid back now.
So who among them, or between the two of them, decided that or told you is either you shape up or you go back to Lagos, or was it both of them?
It was a joint
effort.
Yeah, well, it's probably I don't know, but I think it's a joint. It came across as being joint. So.
Was school fun for you at any time, and what were your favorite subjects?
Yeah, school definitely became fun for me, or it was fun a lot of the time. Um, art was a favorite subject of mine. PE, obviously, the physical aspect. And I enjoyed RS as well, religious studies. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is it about religious studies that appealed to you?
The essay writing, the debating, the having to weigh up both sides of the argument.
Debating?
Yeah.
About what?
The debating when it comes to
Religion.
theories,
Gotcha.
different things. Yeah.
There seems to be a bridge here. You are a debater, Segun. Yes. I mean, I saw it in your on your bio. Did you debate? Well, let me ask you this question about debating. How has your debating skills helped you grow, or has been helpful to you recently?
I think it's meant that I've had to think and sort of rethink things that I thought were right before. And I think when you debate or when you just have a discussion with someone, it really tests what you believe. And it makes you go back to the drawing board that, hold on, does what I think actually makes sense? And is it logical, or does it, have any sort of validity? So I think that's what debating has really helped me with. It's kind of have a clearer thinking.
I know I'm spending some time in your early timeline, but I believe everybody is like a gem with many facets. And oftentimes when people look at a person, they only see maybe one or two of those facets and they form an opinion. What I like to do during these conversations is to twist the gem a little bit and expose the other facets. So indulge me a little bit in your early timeline. I don't know if it's uncomfortable for you or not, but who would you say has had the greatest impact on you as a child?
Me personally, I think my parents.
Your parents. What about you, Dumebi?
It would be hard to pick from all members of my family, to be fair. Yeah. All in different ways that they might not even know themselves. Yeah.
If you guys, I started with you, Dumebi. If you were to overhear your parents, your grandparents, telling a stranger about you, let's just take a grandmother and a grandfather and your parents, as quickly as possible, what do you think? Let's start with mom. What do you think that she'll be saying about you? How would she describe you?
My character. She'd probably describe me as, she likes to say I'm quiet, but I don't think I am. She would say I am organized. She'd say I'm a hard worker. She'd say I'm a caring person.
A what?
A caring person.
Caring person.
Yeah. And I'm not too sure. It's an interesting question because I would like to see what she says.
Let's shift to Dad. What would he say?
Dad, what would he say? He would say things along the same lines. He would say probably the fact that I'm independent. I like to get things done. I can do things on my own. I like to learn new things. Me and my dad, or anything that goes wrong in the house, for example, me and my dad are usually the ones that fix it. And so he would probably say someone that knows how to get things done and does them when they need to be done. Yeah.
What about you, Segun?
I think my mum is quite similar. My mum was saying that I'm very caring, that I tend to put people before myself, and I think she should say that I'm a workaholic, so I just work, anything. Say that I'm shy, I'm a quiet boy. Yeah.
Your dad.
It's hard.
Your dad.
My dad, I think he would say the same thing as my mom in the sense that that I care about people. He'd say that I'm caring. I think another thing he would say, I don't know if it's positive or negative, but that I take things very seriously. So yeah, that I take things very seriously. What else would my dad say? Yeah, that's the only thing. It's a hard question because I think
okay.
with my
It's
mom
okay.
is you can, for me personally, you can sort of see what she might say, but my dad, I'm not too sure because I'm not too.
If we have time at the end of the show, we'll get back to the grandparents. But for now, let's shift a little bit.
I just remembered something. My
go
mum
ahead.
always describes me as high maintenance, but
Your mom.
yeah, I'm not sure where she gets it from. But yeah.
I see. Try not to. You're both young men in the UK, young black men. A very interesting demographic. Some would say challenged. What? And you were born in Lagos, and you, Dumebi, same place,
Hackney, London.
London. Oh, you were born in London too. What is it like? What does it mean to be a young black male in the UK? Or let me shape it this way. When you hear that statement, young black male, what comes to mind?
What comes to mind for me is a lot of cliches and a lot of predetermined ways of thinking that people might think black males are in general, or just a lot of generalizations, really.
Yeah, stereotypes. So that black males are all angry males who are violent, are lazy, don't really want to work hard for anything. That's what comes to mind.
And you reject these notions.
Yeah, definitely.
If what would you say to someone who is saying that a young black male in the UK is not let me use the word endangered, an endangered demographic? What would you say to that person?
Me personally, I'll say I'll display facts to them first of all. So, like, the facts does show that black males, or even black people in general, are more unemployed than the white counterparts, which is double the amount that the whites are. And I'll show them that actually, if you look at stats, that this is not the case. And when you look across even institutions, companies in the United Kingdom, you start to realize that at the top you don't really see many black people, or you hardly see, for instance, with law firms, you rarely see partners who are lawyers that are black. So I'll let them know that actually, they are sort of endangered, because facts does show this.
How does this make you feel as a young man?
It doesn't make me feel surprised, but I would just say it's a shame for anyone that thinks that. And in my opinion, you can't really, you may not be able to blame someone that had that idea, because for them to have that idea, they must be, they must not know or have the knowledge that most people do have to have such an idea that black males aren't an endangered species, for example.
Many speak of the disparity, the uneven playing field, and such things. Do you think education, I know both of you are very passionate about your education, do you believe education helps at least?
Yeah, I think education is the foundation.
Is the foundation.
Is the key.
Uh-huh.
Because from education stems so many other things. Like we said, the secondary schools we went to, for example, they shape, whether you like it or not, they shape your life. We were having a conversation the other day along the lines of how much where you go to school and the things you learn at school, how much they actually shape your life, because those secondary school years, that's the place where you make many friends, that's the place where you effectively grow up away from home.
It's true.
So from education stems so many other factors in terms of dealing with people, in terms of the way you see other people. If you go to a secondary school where it's very multicultural, you will naturally be able to interact with many other people when you leave secondary school. If you're, for example, the sixth form I went to was dominantly Asian, so they didn't have as much interaction with people that were outside of their culture, and it was evident. Although they did very well in school, that aspect of their lives was evidently lacking compared to, for example, people from my secondary school, in terms of just communication and interrelationships. So in my opinion, education, it does set you up either to do very well or to not do very well.
Talking about education, what comes to mind is the Amos Bursary, which both of you are beneficiaries. Can you tell us a bit about the Amos Bursary and what does it mean to be a beneficiary?
Well, the Amos Bursary is a charity that supports young black men like myself and Dumebi, African Caribbean boys who are from state schools in London, to realize their potential. So we receive mentoring support through peer mentors, professional support as well through professional mentors, and we attend workshops. So there's loads of different things that we gain through the bursary, but essentially it's to sort of, educate us in the sense of shaping, helping us with our thinking. So the skills that we have, the training that we have, helps to help us being more flexible with our thinking and prepare us for like the corporate world or whichever field we want to get into. And I think being part of the Amos Bursary as well surrounds us with like-minded individuals that might be from the same sort of areas that we're from, but we have goals in life that we want to achieve. So it puts us in a network that can help us grow, and I think that's one of the very important things that Amos Bursary is about. It's about support, and as well, when you see peer mentors or professional mentors who are doing really well in their field, and you go into companies or networking events that are held in companies that you wouldn't usually walk into, instills a lot of confidence in you, and I think that's what the bursary is about: support and confidence. And yeah, that's what it's about, really.
I want to take a quick break, but before the break, I want to leave you with this question. How were you introduced to the Amos Bursary? As a matter of fact, let's answer it as quickly as possible. How were you introduced to the Amos Bursary?
For me, it was actually through my mum. She's the one that heard about it and heard what they were doing. I think through a friend of hers. and she just encouraged me to apply.
And what about you?
Me was through school, sixth form. So Roy Baker, a person who works with the bursary, came in to speak about the benefits and to the boys in the sixth form. And initially I didn't want to apply, but I was kind of told by a friend. He was 2 years above me, and he took a gap year, so he was there working, and he told me like I should just go for it. But yeah, that's how I found out about the bursary.
All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, I want you to answer this. Why you feel this bursary is so important, but not only to you, but other young black men in the UK. All right? What have you learned about their experiences that are different to yours in the UK?
Me personally, I've met some people at my internship, some other interns, and some people outside as well. And it seems to me that we're very blessed in the UK in terms of education. I'm aware that to study in another state, college, you have to pay much more than studying in a college in your state. So it's the amount of money is quite a lot compared to what we have to pay in the UK. I'm also aware that when you finish your college here, after 6 months you have to start paying your loan, regardless of if you've got work or not. And that's something that sort of just made me like step back and just realize like, wow, we're actually quite blessed in the UK in terms of education. And just even things as that the welfare system, as he was mentioning before, like speaking to people, they told me stories about how, like on the streets, and I've seen them as well, you see people who are in poverty, like real poverty, and sort of poverty that, you know, even myself growing up in Nigeria, that I would see, you know, on the street. So it's made me realize that, and we need to take advantage of what we have back home in the UK. And sometimes when we do complain about things, that it's really not as bad as they are compared to how things are here for young people. Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself after joining the Amos Bursary?
For me, I've learned that like anything's possible. And what's important is how you react to things. So good or bad, what's your reaction to it? That's one thing I've learned, through being Amos Bursary.
And as interns in New York, what have you learned about yourself as interns in New York?
I've learned that I've got a lot to offer, probably more so than I thought I did. In certain environments, I felt like I could contribute a lot more than I thought I would be able to in certain conversations, in meeting different people, or even being an intern. Sometimes you're kind of forced to do tasks that you might think are below you because of what you studied, or even at 20 years old, we think we know so much. But
go ahead.
Yeah, but I've just realized that I do actually know quite a bit. There's obviously always a lot to learn, but yeah, I've impressed myself.
Let's talk a little bit about your contribution. You made a trip to Brazil last year.
Yeah.
What was that about?
That was just about me wanting to see more of the world. I like to take on new experiences. So,
did you learn anything?
Oh, I learned a lot.
Give us one thing that you learned that is memorable.
I learned that about the country or in general.
In general.
I learned that there's life outside the bubble that most of us live in. That bubble could be your family, that bubble could be London, that bubble could be New York, but there's always life outside that. And I personally think it's key to your own life to experience the life of someone else, or to experience life in someone else's bubble, because the things that you do on a daily basis and think are so vital to your life become non-existent sometimes when you live outside of your bubble, and smaller other things become that you might not have valued become more important to you. Yeah.
What is the one message you hope other young men get from the Amos Bursary? You want to take that, Segun?
What is the message?
Yeah, the one message
one
that you
message.
hope other young men, other young black men get from the Amos Bursary.
What are in the Amos Bursary right now? It'd be hard to pinpoint one.
What message have you gotten so far that sticks with you?
That you can actually realize your potential.
Let's talk about that a bit.
Okay. So like I was saying earlier, in terms of going to different networking events or interacting with people that you wouldn't usually, you start to realize that there isn't much differences between you and them. And when you do go through trainings and workshops that we do, you start to realize that, hold on a second, I can actually achieve what I want, and that potential being achieved you see in a lot of the other boys in the bursary as well. So we have other boys, so for example a guy called Peter, Kenny, and these are boys who are, through the bursary, they've been able to grow more, and they've always had potential, as everyone does, and boys in the bursary do, but through the skills that the bursary sort of imparted in them, through training, through networking, through going to different places to talk. For instance, I spoke at the House of Lords last year, and just things like that you start to think that I can actually achieve,
Jason,
more than I even think.
Maybe you mentioned the bubble, and I like the way you put it, that every country, every place has a bubble or is a bubble unto itself. And we may use that as a metaphor for what positive things do you tell non-British persons about the UK?
It's funny because that's one of the main questions any kind of foreigner will ask you. Tell me about the UK, tell me about London. And I'm always kind of taken aback by the question, because I find it hard to say what is so great about London, but I think what is great about London is the multicultural aspect of it. The fact that whether it's people in Brazil, people in New York, people in any part of the country, they could effectively come to London and find somebody like them and find people like them. Was the question, what
positive things do you tell non-British people about the UK?
About the UK in general is, I think one thing I remember mentioning before is the fact that they are similar to the US. They're quite patriotic, and they are set in their traditions, and they love their history. And although sometimes it can be negative or sometimes it can cause issues, I think it's something that is key to the country, and it makes the country quite unique, or the 4 countries.
Have you guys been enjoying your internship? If you had a choice, an opportunity for another internship, why would or wouldn't you choose New York?
Well, if I had a chance to come to New York again, would I choose
No,
it?
if you had a chance
Okay.
to do another internship, and New York is one of the choices, why would you or wouldn't you come to New York?
One of the reasons why I would come to New York would have to be because of just the place it is. It's different to being in London, and I personally like, coming out my comfort zone. So I think having an internship here puts me in a place where that I'm out of that comfort zone and I'm constantly learning. I can't really think of reasons why I wouldn't want to
Good
have
answer.
an internship here.
Same for you, Dumebi?
Same.
For you.
I would choose New York all day.
This is a rapid fire question, a quick question. Everybody, or most people who visit Brooklyn, somehow they ought to get around to talking about its energy,
Yeah.
the Brooklyn energy. What does Brooklyn say to you in your quiet moments? How would you describe Okay,
That's a deep question.
it's a deep question.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can bring it a little bit to the surface. You're back home, group of friends, excited to hear about your experiences in New York. And somebody says, tell me about Brooklyn. You want to go for a Segun?
I'll say Brooklyn is very interesting. It's very multicultural, especially where we stay. I'll say it's quite becoming gentrified. So you get a lot of middle class people coming in to Brooklyn, and I'll probably make similarities of Brooklyn to an area in London. And for example, Williamsburg is like, for me, Hackney. Just the way people are there, the culture there. And another thing that I'd probably say about Brooklyn is, I don't know, it's just like London. It's just a bit like London, but I think poverty here, in some parts of Brooklyn, that is very real. And it's an image that I have of a guy constantly that I see all the time when I come back from work, and he's just there in the morning when I'm going to work and when I'm coming back as well, and he has no help. And that's one of the things that stands out for me in terms of like poverty in Brooklyn. Yeah, but overall we've heard a bit of, people saying, oh, the area we're going to is going to be, quite rough and whatnot, but we haven't really experienced. It just seems normal, yeah.
I want to ask you a different question, Dumebi, only because I have so many questions and time is creeping up on us. Give us a typical day of internship. How do you guys get to work?
Okay. For myself, it's just waking up at 7 a.m., leaving by 8 a.m. to get to work for 9 a.m. So for us, it's quite simple getting to work, or for me, it's quite simple getting to work. It's a 10-minute walk down the road straight to the subway. The subways are always packed at that time of the morning. It's similar to London in terms of the subway and the tube. The only difference being the air conditioning, which helps the process.
The air conditioning where? Here?
Air conditioning here.
It works.
Yeah, it works, and it needs to be working in the UK. So get to Times Square before 9 o'clock, and then have the pleasure of walking through Times Square to the offices. And it's interesting that there are tourists, and Times Square is as busy at 9 a.m. as it is at 5 a.m. So that's pretty interesting.
What surprised you about New York?
What surprised me? Well, they say it's the city that never sleeps, and it surprised me that it really does never sleep. as as weird as that might be. Yeah. Just the fact that probably until 2, 3 a.m. there's still things going on. People are still on the subway 4, 5 a.m. It's just really active 24/7. Yeah.
Let's take a quick break. We're back with Segun and Dumebi. Segun, what would you like the public to know about the Amos Bursary and how it affected your life?
I think I would like to let the bursary, the public know that the bursary has really supported me. So like I said, through like mentoring support, through the skills session, and one example, or even examples that I can think of how it's really affected my life is it has instilled a lot of confidence in me. I've seen myself grow a lot since I've been part of the bursary. So I remember after joining the bursary, I decided to run as a prefect in my sixth form, and from then on, through like the school sessions that I had with the bursary, public speaking, and even just things as just organizing your study and things like that, allowed me to push forward to being the head boy in my sixth form. And other things is gaining internships. When in interviews, I know what to ask, I know how to portray myself, how critical my body language is, and those are things that I've been learning through the bursary. And I think that's one thing I'd like the public to know, and also know how it's also impacted on other boys. So we have this year students who are going to Cambridge, a few students who are going to UCL, University College London, and that's something that I think is very important, and the bursary really helped us with gaining those places and building our confidence to realize we can actually apply to even universities such as Cambridge or Oxford or whichever place you want to go to. And yeah, I'll definitely think the public should know about that, the support and confidence that the bursary instills in us.
In the chat room, Ash said, or asked rather, what would either of them do to improve the experience with the Amos Bursary? Is there anything that needs improving? That was my next question.
Within the Amos Bursary?
Yes. If you could recommend something, what would you recommend?
Tough question. It's difficult to try to make a recommendation for something that works very well and kind of solves an issue the way it does. So personally, I'm not too sure, to be honest, what could be improved.
Okay. Ash, what about you? You want to try this, Segun?
I think the same as Dumebi.
Same thing.
Already seen.
Ash said, would you return to New York on your own, and would you consider a permanent move to the States?
I would definitely come back to New York and explore it a bit more. In terms of having a permanent move to the States, I would really have to think about that, simply because I feel to live in New York, there's a lot of things you'd have to deal with, and for instance, like the poverty that I've seen, it's something that really gets to me, because the contrast between like bright lights and then you got someone who's picking from the bin. I think the welfare system is not great, and we have that in the UK. But maybe live here for me a few years in terms of exploring it, but settling, I don't know where the future will take me, but maybe by the moment I see myself coming back, but not settling.
What about you?
Yeah, I'd personally move here. I'd move to most places in the world, so I wouldn't mind, yeah.
What are you most thankful for? In life,
in
generally,
life.
yes.
I'm most thankful for the family that God gave me.
Mhm.
I think without it, I'd be a very different person. Without, yeah, that's it for me.
And you, Segun, what are you most thankful for?
That's I think that's a tough question, because there's a lot of things. I think the thing I'll be most thankful for would have to be, well, my parents definitely. Have really supported me, but just knowing that well, I have good health, thankfully to God. Things that we take for granted, I'm just thankful for them. Having education, but I'm really thankful for having the parents that I have.
If you could debunk one myth about young black males in the UK, what would it be?
Sorry, can you repeat what if we can?
If you could debunk a
one
myth
message.
about young black males in the UK, what would that be? Having seen what you've seen, having experienced what you've experienced.
One for me would be the fact that young black males can only really aspire to kind of the entertainment, reaching the top of the entertainment industry, whether that's music or sports. But there are many young black males that can reach the highest levels of law, of the medical field. That's one that would stand out to me.
And you, Segun?
Just kind of to let them know that, anything is possible. So like Dumebi was saying, that people normally think, black males play, sports, football, basketball, whichever sport they decide to do, but there's more out there for us, and that's one thing that I think is important.
Well, what are your real concerns, your deep fears about the future of black male youth in the UK if they don't have the kind of interventions that the Amos Bursary has given you?
I think young black males will just be in danger of repeating mistakes from the past that they might have been recipients of, whether that be with regards to things like fatherhood or just being fatherhood, education, many things along those lines. I would say it's easier now for, I guess, the society we've grown up in is very much different to the one that your generation might have grown up in terms of things like social media having a big impact on our lives. The fact that, personally from what I see, and Sheg might agree, that a lot of the time well, these days, young black males of our age, a lot of what they do and the life they live is to portray on social media, because it's a form of living the life that you want people to see rather than the life that you should actually live or the life that you might actually live. So for me, one of the fears moving forward is that people kind of get drawn into that and not quite hold the same values that I feel personally have led men like my dad to become, for example, who I think has done a great job in his life. So that's the type of footsteps I would like to follow in. So when youngsters are kind of influenced and learn through things like social media, for me, that's an issue.
What about you, Segun? You want to take a stab at this?
I think one of the fears that I think, it's kind of, hits me, is having to know that growing up right now, there's a lot of black men, black women who are young black men and black women who are doing really well, and it would be a shame to see in the future that we don't help other people come up. Like, I remember speaking today, someone about how the Jewish people support themselves and how they, buy things together, have businesses together, and they grow so much as a community. And that's one fear that I think, kind of resonates with me, because right now there's a lot of us that are really doing well, even for like Amos Bursary is an example of that. And for me, if that doesn't show in the future in terms of like, the other young people who are coming up, then it's a bit of a failure to an extent.
Would you say this unity is one of the things that you guys gain from the Amos Bursary?
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
If you were sitting in a room with the Right Honorable Baroness Valerie Amos, and you had one question and one comment, what would you say to her, and what question would you ask her? Starting with you, Segun.
What question would
I see you smiling. Why does this name evoke such joy in you?
Because she's the patron of Amos Bursary, and the Amos Bursary began on behalf of her parents and her sister, and the other people in the bursary who support us are, wonderful people that, the bursary wouldn't be able to achieve what it's achieving today without the help of her and the people within the bursary. So we have committees as well in the bursary, learning development team, mentoring team. There's loads of compartments in the bursary that help the boys to achieve what they want to. So that's why I was smiling. But question I would ask her, I would have to really think about that, to be honest. But I do know a comment.
Segun, I'm not going to let you off the hook with that question, right? So I'll find a way to come back to you, but
Okay.
what comment will you make?
She's a very inspirational person. Because of what she's achieved.
No, speak to her directly.
Okay, you're a very inspirational person because of what you've achieved, not only being a black person, but also being a black woman, and to get to the position that you've got to through sheer hard work and, through caring for people as well. I think that's something that we as young men and young black people, or even black people in general, should aspire to helping other people. So you have a high position in the UN, on the Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs. So that's essentially, she's the third in command of the UN and the highest British person in the UN, and that's a very high position, and it's very inspirational to know that you're part of the bursary, and we can speak to you and see what we can be as well. Yeah, that would be my.
What is one quality? I'm going to come back to the question because you must ask her a question. But what is one quality about her that stands out to you?
Probably, I don't know if it's quality, but confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So in getting to the places that you just am I speaking directly to her
Yes,
still?
please.
Okay. That you've gotten to, it takes a lot of confidence and self-belief, and I think that's very important in growing as an individual. So.
And you, I'm coming back to the question. And you, Dumebi?
I think I would ask her at what point in her life
No, not third person, direct.
Baroness Amos, at what point in your life did you realize that your best service to this world would be through helping other people?
And a comment?
And a comment would be, thank you for realizing that was your calling, because through that calling you've clearly helped thousands, countless people that probably won't ever know that you have helped them. Us boys on the bursary are all recipients of your hard work, your philanthropy, and as Segun said, the many other people that work on the Amos Bursary. And it's just, there's a quote that I try to remember, but it's along the lines of, you never really know how much you've helped someone or you can never really know how much you've helped someone, even so much so that they don't even know you've helped them. Mm-hmm. And I think we are, and the many other countless people around the world that are going through conflict now and that might come out of it, or we hope come out of it, are recipients of people like Baroness Amos, people like you, and thank you for that service.
Who is Segun evolving into the next 10 years? And the same question goes for you, Dumebi.
Am I evolving to? Next 10 years, I'll be 29.
Who do you think we are going to see in 10 years?
Is he answering about me or?
No, him.
I'm answering about myself. Definitely a leader. So helping other people, young people, internationally as well. I like to see myself. I would like to travel to one of the countries I like to travel to is Nigeria. I would like to go there again and be involved in some sort of charity work. And one of my dreams is to open an orphanage, and that's something I've spoken with my dad. My dad is really passionate about that, and I would like to have that in 10 years or 15 if I'm pushing it. But I would like to be successful in a sense that my mind is at rest, and also knowing that I'm giving back to people, to giving back to young people who've once been in a situation as I've been in, and yeah, just being a leader.
Mm-hmm.
A leader, yeah.
And you, Dumebi, in 10 years?
Yeah, very similar. In 10 years, I'll be 30 years old. I'll be a father. I look forward to fatherhood. A family man. A businessman, someone who's been able to reach. By 30 years old, I hope to have reached the top of whatever field I end up in. And yeah, well traveled, as you might be able to tell I like to travel.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to be well travelled and just settled and be able to do what I think what freedom is being able to do what, or having the ability to do whatever you want to do, and that's what I hope to have.
I'm going to ask or beg your indulgence for a few more minutes.
Hmm.
But these are rapid fire questions, so answer them as fast as you can. What do you do for fun? Starting with you, Segun.
For fun, I like to see myself as a gym activist. I like exercising and music as well. Yeah.
What kind of music you like?
I'm into neo soul, a bit of hip hop, a lot of African music as well. So like Fela Kuti, like that sort of music. And I do play the talking drum, the bongos and the drum set as well. So
You do all these things?
yeah, sometimes.
I wish I knew before the show started. And you do maybe?
I play sports for fun, football. That's my main source of fun. Yeah.
If you had a chance to go back in time, what would you tell your 14-year-old self as fast as possible?
I'll tell my 14-year-old self to be strong in what you believe in and to follow your dreams from early on.
And you, Segun?
I'll tell myself to plan. I think planning is important.
Are you a better planner now?
Yes, but I still need to improve in terms of achieving it. Yeah.
Finish the sentence. I look forward to Sunday evenings too.
Sorry, I look forward to
Sunday evenings too. Finish the sentence.
I look forward to Sunday evenings to eat with my family,
Okay.
to relax, and to sleep.
Sleep.
Those three things normally happen on a Sunday.
And you, Segun?
I look forward to Sunday evenings to relax, to reflect how the week's been, and to indulge myself in my mom's cook it to eat.
What drives you? What makes you get up every day and do what you do?
Me personally, I think about my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you?
Similar to that, I think about my parents. I think about what I want to be able to do for them in the future and what I want to be able to do for myself and my family in the future.
Segun, what question will you ask Baroness Amos?
I would ask you, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years?
Segun, you took my question and you asked the Baroness. That's it, Segun? That's it. All right. Okay. A question. Oh, you wanted to give another stab? Or that's it?
Oh, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
In 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a question I ask all my guests.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you laugh out loud?
For me, banter. So just having fun with like my friends, my boys. Yeah, just sometimes taking a mickey out of each other. I think that's how boys connect. But that's what makes me laugh. Just not taking things too seriously, and just laughing about things. And just yeah.
Dumebi, what makes you laugh out loud?
Pretty much the same thing.
Pretty.
Just taking the mick out of my friends taking the mick out of me. Just that makes me laugh out loud.
There are 3 questions in the chat room by Ash that I have to ask you before we close. One is, tell us how you felt seeing street names that come from the UK expats who helped to establish the US.
We were actually talking about that on the way here. The fact that so much of the UK, or so many of the places in the UK, are present here as well. It's just very interesting to see how much the British, the British have influenced not just the US but the world.
And Ash, congrats on your award, Selwyn, class of 2014 honorees, well earned and deserved. Well, thank you. Okay, thank you. And Ash, have they created a network of their own during this experience, and will they maintain it when they return to the UK?
A network of our own in the US.
Yeah.
I think I have. Personally, I've been sending emails to people in the firm I've been working at, to have meetings with them, just to ask them questions on how they got to their positions, and going out for lunches with a few people as well. Because one thing that Bursary lets us understand how important networking is, and that's one thing I've done. So I've emailed a lot of people, eaten with people, and yes, building contacts for the future.
Yeah, very much.
Same thing.
Yeah, I've made it an aim of mine to relationships and build a network with the people I work with, the people I meet, and I hope to keep those relationships going.
Well, there you have it. The two young men from the UK. First, let me thank you very much for taking the time to come on the CWS. I'm really impressed. I'm impressed by your deportment. I'm impressed by your eloquence. And if this is any example of what the young men who are passing through are being affected by the bursary is, then I am very confident and hopeful that this bursary, the Amos Bursary, is going to transform many lives and create chain reactions of transformation. And for that, I am very glad.
Thank you, sir.
As I mentioned to you earlier, or mentioned in the program, I like to twist the gem and expose the various facets. And I believe that I have twisted the gem tonight, and I've exposed various facets of you. And I like to believe that it's only upon reflection that can we see our true contribution in life, or the choices that we have made and their effects. And so when you look at the recording, I hope through that reflection, you'll be able to see yourself in many angles. And those who have listened tonight, I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.